Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal. Patch 11.05, otherwise known as WoW's 20th anniversary update, is arriving in just a handful of days, and while this isn't a major content update with a brand new season and a brand new raid and dungeon affixes, it does contain a ton of new content, from dungeons and raids for you to dive into that offer some competitive gear and rewards for Season 1 of War Within, to a bunch of different ways to catch up your ults whether you will look to level some new characters or gearing them out as quickly as possible, as well as a bunch of festivities to partake in outside of Cavern of Time with a ton of new things to collect. Players that are returning back to the game for this anniversary update will not only be able to get this year's anniversary rewards, such as the tier 2 revamps of original class sets, but also some of the older rewards from older anniversary updates. This combined together with all the different hero talent and class talent revamps, and there are one too many to count here, plus all the little quality of life improvements when it comes to currencies and gearing and transmogs and all those other things, makes 11.05 a fairly meaty update, which we've tried to cover on the channel as much as we could over the last few weeks as the PTR build kept getting more and more updates, and I kind of wanted to combine all of those updates together in a one single culmination video of everything you need to know regarding WoW's 20th anniversary and the patch 11.05. And any of you that haven't played War Within expansion so far, this update may be the perfect time to make your big return back to the World Soul Saga. As always, if you want to see more regular updates for the War Within expansion, be sure to follow the channel and subscribe. But otherwise, let's dive right in. Normally, every single year, WoW gets to celebrate its anniversary, and normally this celebration is held within the Caverns of Time, way deep down in the caverns, but it's super inconvenient having to go back down there and flying out of there, so they decided to bring the entire celebration out in front of the Caverns of Time. So now we have a whole new celebration grounds with a bunch of little activities for you to take advantage of. The first area you'll get to visit is the main central area, which will help you with a bit of an orientation quest. A couple of these quests in order to get you kind of started on some of the different activities as well as vendors available for this event. The first one of which being Mount Mania. This one is actually going to be a lot of fun, and I think everybody is going to enjoy it. Mount Mania is basically a mount collecting competition where players will get to show off their mount collection, where basically all you have to do is match whatever mount Abigail is going to be on. Whenever she mounts up on a mount and you match it, you get a point, and the person with the most amount of points that matches the most amount of mounts wins the competition. Another event is going to be Storytime with Lore Walk at Show, who's literally going to go through some of the different lore elements of WoW, specifically within Azeroth. And during this anniversary event, they actually have him tell some of the various different lore elements of WoW, whether it is the first time orcs came to Azeroth, or maybe the opening of the gates of Anchorage, as well as a bit of a backstory for all these different things, so you can join in and enjoy some of that lore. The third main event is going to be Fashion Frenzy, which is basically a trial of style event that happens every so often on the calendar, but one that is held every few minutes over on these fairgrounds. Besides this, we also have Secrets of Azeroth, which will be a new secret finding event that will be available a few days, or rather a week, after the 20th anniversary officially launches with 11.05. And it's basically yet another one of those secret finding community type of events, like for the Nightmare Mound, for instance, or the Waste of Time, or many of the other events we had previous expansions. And it's going to be very, very similar to it. Not something we could test in PTR, but something you'll be able to experience once this goes live. And there's a ton of other little things, like you can ring the gong of the display's scarab. You also have a bunch of different portals that will take you to various different locations, and there you can actually take little props and doodads and then pose with those doodads for screenshots in a variety of different locations. The Black Market Auction House makes the way and actually positions itself under the Fashion Frenzy, and they got a couple of new items added to their collections. If your pockets are just filled with gold and you gotta spend it somewhere, you might as well spend it at the Black Market Auction House. Besides this, we have a ton of different vendors, a whole pet section, a bunch of various NPCs from older expansions that are making the return, and a ton of other little things that you can discover during the event, which I don't think is really worth spoiling as of right now. During the update, you also will have access to WoW's anniversary buff, which provides you with 10% additional experience gains, but also 10% additional reputation gains. Though with it being the 20th anniversary, you can actually boost it from 10% to 20%. And the other 10% you can acquire by completing a daily quest from the main event coordinator, which adds you the Blessing of the Bronze Dragonflight for 10% additional experience for 12 hours. And you simply need to revisit this NPC once a day to refresh your experience and rep buff, which means that leveling alts in particular is going to be incredibly valuable during the 20th anniversary, together with the Warband EXP buff, which could be up to 25%, plus also some of the other holidays that could overlap during the 20th anniversary. Being able to catch up a character during this event specifically is going to be ridiculously easy, so it may be a good idea to prep a couple of characters, at least park them at an inn to start earning that rested experience, maybe catch up on your heirloom gear so you can be ready to farm up incredible amounts of experience rather quickly. The 20th anniversary, however, also features a couple of more new world bosses. Every single anniversary features things such as the Doomwalker, we have Azuragos, we have the Dragons of Nightmare, as well as over in Eastern Kingdoms, Lord Kazak, but this year they added a couple of more. In Daenerys will now have the Shah of Anger, as well as Archivon the Stone Watcher. And they also updated the rewards on all of these bosses to include better gear, but also a couple of more collectible items like mounts, as well as pets and other cosmetic things that you can now earn, which gives you yet another reason to slay all of these bosses for one more year with an Azeroth. You'll also notice that throughout the anniversary grounds, you also have a bunch of different weekly quests for you to complete. A lot of these weekly quests will start to award the brand new currency of Bronze Celebration tokens. This is going to be a brand new currency available during the 20th anniversary event, and that is going to be how you will purchase some of the newest rewards available with this year's anniversary update. Specifically, the most exciting part of this anniversary is going to be the Tier 2 remakes, the Tier 2 20th anniversary updates of all the original Tier 2 sets, except for classes like Demon Hunter, for example, Death Knight, as well as Evoker and Monk. Those classes get some brand new sets that are still kind of very thematic to their classes. But everybody else, from Druids, Mages, Paladins in particular, as well as Rogues of the Bloodfang set, which looks amazing. You got the Priest set, the Shaman set, the Warlock set, and the Warrior set, and hopefully I didn't miss a single one of them. But all these sets are making a comeback in a more high definition version, a much higher quality edition of the original sets, which all look absolutely amazing. All of these items are going to cost you initially 60 Bronze Celebration tokens, but they actually get cheaper the more of these sets that you buy. Like the first set you buy is going to cost you 60, which is quite a lot of tokens. The next one is going to be 40, and then after you buy your first two sets, all the other sets are going to cost 20 tokens instead. So it should give you a little bit of a cheaper price to hopefully be able to collect all of these sets for all of the classes that you're looking to play during the 20th anniversary. But even if you don't end up buying all of these items, they will come back for future anniversary updates, and that means this currency of Bronze Celebration tokens will likely retain its value as the currency going forward for every other anniversary update. Besides this, we also have another few vendors that can utilize these tokens, such as Storekeeper Reginald, where you can buy some of the older anniversary rewards such as the Onyxian Whelpling, Molten Corgi, Lil Nefarian, Hatespark the Tiny, Baby Blizzard Bear, but also a couple of the other mounts that I already have as part of my collection, such as the Core Hound, which was available during, I believe, the 14th year or 2014 anniversary of WoW, as well as the Obsidian Worldbreaker, which is available during the 2019 WoW anniversary. We also have a Timely Trinkets vendor, which has some of the other rewards such as pets, as well as a toy with the 20th anniversary balloons, but also the Cold Flame set, which includes the sword, the back piece, the shield, as well as the helm. Then there's also Cold Flame Ring, which is another toy, and also a way for you to be able to convert those bronze tokens into Time War badges once you've spent all of those bronze tokens on all of the other collectibles. So don't be doing that way too early. But also you can earn the Cold Flame Tempest Phoenix mount by completing a cool 20 years achievement. This is a meta achievement, and it has to complete basically all of the basic activities outside of the grounds and participate in a variety of different events, plus also some of the new instance events that have been added during the 11.05 update. Besides stuff you could buy for bronze tokens, you also have a couple of new time walking vendors, such as the classic time walking vendor of Baba Dormo. He'll be available for the classic time walking weeks, which is another activity that is available during this anniversary update. Like all the other time walking vendors from TBC and Wrath of Lich King era, plus also all of the other expansions, you'll have a variety of different pets, mounts for you to collect, potentially some of the fun items from those expansions, and even transmog from SOD, Seasonal Discovery, which is going to be probably one of the more unique additions since all of these items actually look really good over on the retail version. And the event grounds have a ton of different vendors for you to interact with, but a lot of them I'll leave as a surprise, not to spoil anything, but you'll have fun things such as the Notary Grabbly, who has a bunch of different titles that you can purchase with Time War badges, like a Classic Enthusiast, Outland Enthusiast, Kata Enthusiast, Northern Enthusiast, and all the different Enthusiast titles for a variety of different expansions, as well as fun things like Plagueland Survivor, Grizzly Hills Hiker, Karazhan Graduate, and Molten Core Prospector. The 11.05 update also brings with it a metric ton of class changes, which we've been talking about for a couple of weeks over on this channel, and there's one too many of them to name. However, I will have a much more detailed video covering every single new class thing that'll be arriving once 11.05 officially launches. But as part of the update, we do have some of the highlights, such as the much requested revamp of the Dark Ranger, which really does finally hit that class fantasy perfectly. Shamans get brand new talents, as well as a brand new forms for their ascendants and ways that ascendants can interact with the rest of their kit. Archmages got a pretty sizable revamp, Paladin's class challenge has also got a pretty solid revamp there as well. Rogues finally got some much needed changes within its class and spec talent trees, and there's so many more to cover, which again I'll have a more detailed video later down the line, as the update for 11.05 is closer to launch. We also got a bunch of time walked-in events available as part of this new update, such as the return of some of the original classic time walking dungeons. Deadmines, for example, has a very different look ever since its Cataclysm revamp, but we now have the original classic version of Deadmines as well, with all the bosses and all the boss mechanics and even some of the items to really mimic some of the original vanilla version of these instances. And we have a variety of these dungeons making a comeback, with classic time walking being added as part of the time walking rotations. Normally for time walking we've had other expansions such as Burning Crusades or Wrath of Lich King or things like that. But with 11.05 we also get classic as not really an expansion to be added into the time walking, but rather a period of WoW added into the time walking rotation, with a variety of its own rewards as well as gear to collect and a bunch of different collectibles that you can now obtain during that event. But we're not only getting time walking dungeons, we're also getting a time walking raid, Sorda. The Blackrock Depths raid is going to be one of the new dungeon raids that is being added as part of the 11.05 update for the 20th anniversary. It is basically taking the original dungeon of the Blackrock Depths, but revamping it with some of the newer models for a lot of its enemies and bosses, as well as revamping the gear drops that are available for all of those bosses as well, with a bunch of new and powerful items. This raid will be available on 3 difficulties such as LFR, Normal, and Heroic, just like all the other raids minus Mythic, and we'll have a ton of new boss encounters that are pretty much revamped to be very different. This raid also comes with a couple of vendors where you can have some bad luck protection on a handful of best install items for Season 1. As you slay bosses within the raid, you get to earn a limited number of coffer keys, and you can trade them out for specific pieces. The 3 types of keys that you get from 3 different difficulties, so all the keys are going to be separate. The LFR, Normal, and Heroic keys you'll earn independently, which means you get a guarantee of at least 9 different items, if you do it all on different difficulties, of items that you can collect from this raid to use for your best in slot pieces within Season 1 of War Within. Keen eye of you will also notice that I've been running around not on a human, but rather on a Drakthir rogue. And yes, the Drakthir are finally getting access to a lot more class options, though with some limitations. As of right now, Drakthir will get access to mages, hunters, priests, warlocks, warriors, and rogues, besides just evokers, and you'll be able to retain most of the Drakthir racials, though some balancing have been added in order to make sure the Drakthir race doesn't end up being the best in slot and the only strong viable option when it comes to endgame progression. I mean, between Wing Buffet as well as Tail Swipe, that would have given them an incredibly big and a powerful kit to perform well within Mythic Plus dungeons, for instance. So they did a bit of tuning as well as some adjustments to the glide ability to make sure that it is a strong set of racials that you'll be able to utilize, but not something that's going to be a guaranteed best in slot for every single class in the game. And the best part is, as Evoker Drakthir, you have to utilize the Dragon form quite often, but as a non-evoker, so as rogues, hunters, warlocks, you name it, any other Drakthir that are not evoker can actually switch between the Dragon form and their visage humanoid-esque form if they want to, and they'll be able to retain whichever form they choose in combat, which is also part of that fun. And lastly, 11.05 brings with it a ton of different catch-ups that are present throughout this entire update. If you're looking to catch up a character in terms of the item level, then this event will be perfect and will offer so many easy opportunities for some valuable gear rewards. First of all, most of the events scattered around Caverns of Time, all of the weekly activities awards you bronze celebration boxes, which award champion track gear from these boxes. Specifically, you'll be earning a bunch of champion track gear from the newest raid of Blackrock Depths, which have a lot of powerful items that are rewarded on champion track. Gear that's literally equivalent to Nerb or Palace normal difficulty just for completing weekly activities. A new event called Codex of Chromie also has a similar type of reward, but also an event that you can queue for from the dungeon selection screen, which awards you warbound gear that can be used to gear out your alts. Let's also not forget the time walking dungeons for the classic time walking, which also award you gear. Now these items won't be amazing to get like an end game set, but for a brand new character just at level 80, you want to get some gear and some items, this will be the easiest items that you can collect just for queuing some dungeons. Also, as you slay bosses on Blackrock Depths, you'll get to earn coffer keys, which can then be exchanged for guaranteed specific items from that new raid tier that you could purchase from vendors. Not to mention all of the different world bosses that are also available throughout the map between Kalimdor as well as Eastern Kingdoms. All of these bosses can award you decent starter gear. Now, I haven't been able to test out what kind of gear these bosses drop on PTR since there's just not enough players in order to take down the world boss, but in previous events they would drop veteran track gear, which isn't amazing. But some of these bosses do have some really rare items like Lord Kazak, which has a Blaze Fury Medallion, arguably one of the best melee DPS items, even on veteran track fully upgraded because of its bonus effect that adds additional fire damage on your auto attacks. And for many melee classes, this didn't make the item best in slot specifically, but it was like adjacent to your best in slot item. Like you could either get the Blaze Fury Medallion or your best in slot neck piece from the current raid tier. And if this item is scaled the same way as it was last time, this could potentially be a very lucrative neck piece for many melee to chase after, so you maybe wanted to farm out Kazak until you get this item specifically. Which on its own leaves us with quite a lot of stuff happening for the 20th anniversary, but we got more. To finish things off, we got a bit of a lightning round. Like 1, you can now easily transfer currencies from one character to another with just a click of a button, which makes it much easier than having to type out the actual number of the currency you want to transfer. All characters can also see all currencies with just a drop down, so even if that character hasn't interact with a specific currency, you'll still know will be able to see it with the UI options. Also, Dark Iron Dwarves can now get access to new mole machine locations for their racial, specifically new travel spots out within Shadowlands as well as the Dragon Isles. First, you'll need to find specific mole machines scattered out in the open world in order to add them to your travel list. The Warbound Bag is now fully functional with your professions and the work order system to make it a lot more usable, especially when it comes to completing those patron orders but also work orders for other players. 11.05, your Transmog quest rewards will now be making their way into your collection real soon after the launch of this update. Now, when you complete a quest, your character normally only sees rewards available for your class, so like intellect staffs for mages and priests for instance, but a bunch of other class rewards are hidden from you since your class can use those. But all of those mystery rewards should now be made available into your collection retroactively. You should start seeing some of those rewards popping up on all of your characters once 11.05 officially launches. But with that, I'm pretty sure that covers just about everything that's going to be available during the 20th anniversary of WoW, patch 11.05. As always, I do want to thank all of you guys so much for watching this video, and hopefully you enjoyed this update. If you did enjoy it or found it informative, go ahead and give this video a like. I would very much appreciate it. Join our Discord community to keep up with all the regular changes happening in the War Within expansion. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And as always, I'll see all of you guys in the next one.